Hi, this is Tim of the 1916 Company. Welcome and thanks for logging on. If you love this watch, email me, Team Mosso at the1916company.com for purchase pricing and availability questions concerning this watch. And this watch is an early version of the landmark Bethune DBD, along with the DBL and the DBD. It was part of a trilogy of watches that heralded the arrival of avant-garde design at Bethune. The timepiece you see here brought the drivetrain to the dial side, the oscillator, the hairspring, the escapement to the dial side, and paired with the 122-year spherical Moonphase debuted on the DB15 perpetual calendar, it proved that Bethune was going to be as aesthetically adventurous as it was with engineering and watchmaking. So the earliest versions of this watch have cases and lugs that are built differently, dials that are different in their layout, monometallic balances with standard flat hairsprings, and conventional balance bridges rather than triple pair chutes. So if you want something very collectible, these early DBD examples are definitely that, scarce and a fascinating document of the company's evolution. In white gold, this one right here, is approximately 42.6 millimeters wide. I measured only 11.4 millimeters thick, and from lug to lug, it has a span of 45 millimeters. So although oddly shaped, it's fairly easy to wear, and that's what I found with my similarly sized and shaped DBD. Across the wrist, it's a fairly short watch, so you'll find it'll wear just fine on a wrist as small as 14 centimeters circumference. And it is pretty flat, so it will fit underneath the cuff. An unusual looking watch, but one that is, in the end, not that big. It is weighty, though. It's got a satisfying mass to it. The strap is high grade, and as you can tell, the strap is much more recent than the watch, as we've got large rectangular symmetrical scales on the top, an expensive cut of the animal, paired with a small round scale on the bottom. This appears to be the thinking in strap design at the top end watch brands now. By putting gator on the bottom, you add a few $100s to the cost of the strap, but you dramatically increase the durability and longevity of the strap. We have a curved spring bar used here. You can see that the case and the strap, they're designed to sort of sink into each other with a countersink or a little revetment underneath the bezel that allows the strap to be so close that there's no daylight seen, but also give it enough flexibility that it can move. We've got a hinge lug on the other side. Now, this is Bethune starting to investigate articulated lugs, and this would eventually lead to the famous floating lugs. But even compared to the hinge lugs seen on later DBLs and DBSs and DBDs, this is an unusual way of assembling it. You could see it was done in a sort of intermediate fashion with an insert that's held on with a spring bar, and then that bracket connects to another bracket that's fixed by a screw-attached plate. And so this is a very involved way of building this particular lug design. It would be simplified later on, but this is the earliest and, in my opinion, the most fascinating version of it. Take a look at this plate too. You can see a combination of beveling and satination. Attention to all details. A simple buckle, you can see Bethune branded with hallmarks on the inner faces of the buckle. The watch, as you can see here, with a power reserve indicator on the case back, and the power reserve is 6 days. You can also see, and I'm going to try to get as close as I can here, the unconventional engraving and the manner in which the caseback is engraved. That was done mechanically, to be sure, but it was a little bit less well resolved than it would be on later examples. You can also see the shape of the caseback and the way it's fixed and the size of the screws. All this would change on later DBS models. As you can see, we have engine turning in concentric rows, beautifully executed. All this is 30 meters water resistant, so don't take it swimming. There is a screw-down crown, but it's there primarily to prevent the crown from interacting with the lug. It's not designed to turn this into a dive watch. And taking a look in profile, you can see there's a push adjuster for adjusting the Moonphase, which is 1/2 white palladium, 1/2 blued steel. If you look carefully, you can actually see the bevel gears that drive it off the movement. And once adjusted, this doesn't need to be corrected for 122 years. It's a perpetual calendar style Moonphase. We've got a lovely media blasted track for the hours featuring fired blue cabochon hour indices, and then a drilled track inboard for reading the minutes. You can see the skeletonized and fired blue modified Breguet style hands, 2 barrels, 90 winds to full wind. Power reserve here is 6 days, and it is a self-adjusting system. These barrels are patented, so you can't accidentally overwind them. 4 hertz beat rate, and here we've got an unusual system because we're used to seeing triple parachute on de Bethune watches. This was back when the company used a simple full fixed balance bridge for stability, and rather than Inca block, which is featured on triple parachute, here we have KIF shock protection. You can also see a mobile stud index with conventional curb pins for adjusting, a conventional flat hairspring. So between the fixed bridge, the KIF shock protection, the monometallic balance, and the standard flat hairspring, very different from how de Bethune would build these watches later on. It's a little bit like brass movement Jean in that it's just a different era in every way. Now you can see we've got solarization on the ratchet wheels and the barrel covers, and unlike later de Bethune watches where just the one ratchet wheel off at 3 o'clock would have a beveled teeth, this one has beveled teeth on both ratchet wheels on both sides. You can also see that the stripes down the center, an early version of Côte de Bethune, laid down by a brace of wheel and stacked too high. Taking a look at the bevels, you could see back then we had mirrored anglage on all bridge peripheries, so every bridge has mirrored anglage on its side. And if you look at really carefully, you can also see that we've got one layer of barrel bridge rather than 2 as we'd have on the later watches. All screw heads are mirror finished and it's a good look. This is a very cool watch with a lot of hand decoration in ways that, frankly, in detail even surpass some of the later watches. This was just a period when fewer watches were being made and more time could be spent on each watch, and the watch is exquisite for that. You can even see outboard, or maybe inboard I should say, of each one of these hour indices. One of those drillings corresponds with a blue insert. It's just beautifully thought through, and every detail is the finest imaginable. Highly collectible piece for the right kind of collector who appreciates the early days of a significant brand. Reach out to Team Mosso at the 1916company.com for purchase and pricing details.